雪花飘飘，绑身小鞋. And that should give you a good idea of what we're talking about today.
Yep. Great way to lose anyone watching this like in the first few seconds. I actually thought at one point in this year that it's a bad idea to release Shang-Chi and Mortal Kombat in the same year.
I mean, the thing is, it's not akin to Mortal Kombat. I'd say it's more akin to like Mulan 2020, but with the major difference being that less racist and more different, per se.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Movie Buffs. I'm your host, Mansoor.
And I'm Yurka, and today we're here to talk about Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings, because that's the full title, since they will make a bunch of sequels.
I mean, that's Marvel's shtick. What do you expect?
I mean, they do make good movies, so I don't mind, and especially not with Shang-Chi.
I mean, they do have a good track record, I'm not gonna lie. Like, even with their not worse films, but like less better films, they're still decent. Like, none of the Marvel movies are terrible per se, so.
Yep. Well, let's get into it. So, you want to score Shang-Chi? And The Legend of the Ten Rings?
I was about to say. Okay, well, for me, I'd give it a 7.5.
Oh, okay, this will be good, because I'm giving it a 9.
Oh, shit, okay.
You want to go first?
It's gonna go down, man. Yeah, alright, I'll go for it. Okay. So, let me start with the bad. I have about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 to 6 bads in the movie. And they're all, like, just more nitpicks rather than, well, a couple of them aren't really nitpicks, but, like, I'd say 2 to 3 are nitpicks. So, first thing that I want to talk about is, none of the acting is bad per se, but some of it is quite inconsistent, if you get what I mean. Especially since I'd say maybe one of them is like a brand new actress who just entered into the movie, which is Mengar Zhang. I hope I pronounced that correct. She's the one who played Xialing, the sister of Shang-Chi. And so, yeah, it wasn't bad, but again, I just felt like it was a little inconsistent and a little underacted, if you get what I mean. But for a first-time role, not that bad, but still, eh. And with the entire idea of how, I mean, Simu Liu, he honestly did a tremendous job with what he was given. Some of the parts, again, were a little underacted, but body language wise and expressionally, he did actually a really good job. I'm not gonna lie, especially with the stunt choreography, which we're gonna get into later, specifically with the good.
Remember that you're talking about the bad, and you're just saying good stuff about the movie.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, again, there are goods in the bad, and there are bads in the good. So you gotta. All right, now here's one of the more bad things. For me personally, the licensed music, not all of it, but some of it just felt like it underwhelmed some of the scenes more. I kind of get that they wanted to go for the idea of wanting to, use the music to set the tone and everything, but for some parts, it kind of took away the emotional punch, personally, for me.
You're so wrong.
I mean, again, it's opinions, my guy. It's just opinions. Dialogue, for me, some parts were a little clunky. More specifically towards the beginning when they introduced Katie and Shang-Chi's original relationship, when she said, and I quote, "Sean, we've been friends for 10 years." I mean, they kind of could have, declunked that, especially with some of the later scenes. It seemed very cheesy, but then again, don't get me wrong. I'm a guy who likes cheese, but some of it was just very, a little more difficult to chew and swallow for me. But otherwise, I mean, that's just a minor complaint. But one of the other ones I have is some of the underutilized characters and actors. So, one that comes to mind for me is Michelle Yeoh. She is an amazing Vietnamese actress who has done like a lot of kung fu movies and like Hong Kong movies from the 90s all the way till now, which includes like what was it called? hidden like tiger crawling dragon or like hidden dragon crawling tiger. You get which one I'm talking about, right?
She's not just a martial artist. She was also, I think, in Crazy Rich Asians, where she did a tremendous job as well.
Yes. Yeah, no. She's a tremendous actress and choreographed actress who is insane at Shaolin, like one of the best Shaolin actresses and like amongst the best Shaolin actresses / actors working today, with inclusion of like Jackie Chan and etc. So for me, it felt a little weird that like even though she did give a little bit of a training montage to Shang-Chi, we didn't get to see more of her like in battle. Like we only got a couple cuts here and there. So I feel like they could have used her a little more than that. I mean, I get it would have taken up a little more screen time, but like maybe 2 to 3 minutes extra would have made like a bit of a difference. Otherwise, one part that like really got to me was the ex machina of him drowning in the water and then all of a sudden a fucking dragon appears.
I mean, the dragon was fucking awesome. So
the dragon was awesome, but I'll get back to the dragon in the bad. Hold on 1 second. But it's just the ex machina that just seemed a little too convenient. And like, specifically, it responds only to Shang-Chi and to Zhen Yang. You get what I mean? It's too convenient, but anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. And then for me, some of the visual effects seemed a little off, especially like for some parts. No. Don't get. I'll get back to the visual effects. Some of them are fucking phenomenal, but in the case of the dragon and the demon, especially on the close-ups, they looked like renderings from a PS4 game. More specifically, the part when
a good PS4
he jumps. Game. Yes, but still, I mean, it felt a little more out of place. At least when they were exploring through the world in the beginning, when they passed like the nine-tailed fox and like all those other like mystical creatures, it seemed more grounded. But like as soon as it got to the dragon, especially to like
I must disagree. I feel like all the creatures, including the nine-tailed fox, Morris, and everyone else, including the dragon and the main monster as well. The Dweller in the Darkness, I think they called it. I feel like they didn't look photoreal, but they looked equally good enough for the CGI to be enough passable.
Well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you on that point, but I'm saying like at some points when you do a zoom in on those two creatures, mainly like the dragon and the demon, it kind of gives, as I said, like PlayStation 4 vibes, but more specifically when he's jumping off the dragon to destroy the demon with the 10 rings and like the chest explosion. Yeah, that looked like a PlayStation 3 era graphics.
Okay.
They kind of did a blowout with that. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Otherwise, like, I'll get back to the visuals. Some of the visual effects are fucking phenomenal. And finally, actually, that's it. That's all my bad.
Okay. Let me just get to the CGI that you just talked about. The one where he was running on the creatures, he was jumping between the Dweller in the Darkness and the dragon. I was very scared that that's gonna look fake. I was scared that Shang-Chi himself will look CGI, but I actually liked the shot. I feel like it was good enough. It wasn't perfect, but it was good enough that like I was actually looking for it, because that was the one thing that came to my mind immediately. And I didn't mind it. I feel like they did a pretty good job with the VFX on that. And hold up. And you called out the shot where Dweller's chest explodes.
Yes.
Sorry, don't ever say that again. That was one of the most beautiful and awesome shots. Like the whole sequence that goes on. It was one of the most beautiful and awesome shots in cinematic history. Honestly,
you should watch more movies. You should watch more movies, my guy. You should watch more movies, my guy.
In terms of VFX, in terms of how cool it was, in terms of how beautiful it was, I feel like it was one of the best shots of all time. Like there's easily more beautiful shots. There's easily more awesome shots. There's easily better CGI, but combining all three, this was one of the better ones.
I guess we'll have to disagree on that.
No,
no, no. The explosion itself.
Honestly,
The
I had
itself,
tears in my eyes. I was just smiling because that was a beautiful, that was perfect live action anime. No, honestly, like
perfect live action. Okay.
In my mind, I was thinking this guy, this director, and these guys who did the VFX, they should go ahead and do some live action anime because this is what like an ideal version would look like.
Well, here's the thing. I don't disagree with you on the explosion part, but everything leading up to it, more specifically when he jumps and drops, like with the rings, that looked a little more like PS3 era. But like before and after that, it was good.
Nope.
But okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting ahead of myself. But anyways,
I agree slightly with some inconsistent acting that you said. Unutilized characters, maybe, but I do think that the movie has a point in not giving these characters. I mean, of course they could, but I don't think that they wanted to have a 3-hour movie that they made. So I just feel like they focused on Shang-Chi and they focused on Wenwu, Tony Leung's character, and he was the best performance in the movie, and I think they did the right thing.
Watch it be like, oh, release the Cretan cut. Like, we want more characters.
Oh yes, of course. But like, I feel like it doesn't hurt the movie. Like, if I would much rather see what they did with Shang-Chi and Wenwu, than if I would rather see 3 more minutes of his sister and his aunt. I feel like the aunt had enough screen time given the fact that she just enters the movie in the 3rd act.
Well, but here's the thing. The mom, even though, like, it's ironic, because going back to the inconsistent acting, the mom, who was played by Fela Shen, who played Leica Wu, she somehow, even though she had, like, the least screen time and was one of the most mentioned characters in the movie, and was kind of like a MacGuffin for the movie, she probably had one of the best acting in the film, with inclusion of the dad, who was played by... Tony Chiu-Wai, if I'm correct. Yeah, Tony Chiu-Wai.
You mean Mandarin?
Yes. Yes.
That was Tony Leung, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Well, Tony Leung Chiu-Wai. Wait, yes, Tony Leung Chiu-Wai. But yes.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, but actually, kind of segueing into that, I want to actually get into the good. For me personally,
before you say the good, I do have one bad thing that, like, because I was really close to giving this movie a 10, and I feel like there's enough points that you said that I do agree with them, but again, I feel like they're not terrible points. I feel like they're just like stuff that you're like, yeah, I minded it, but it doesn't take me out of the movie. Like, I notice it, but it doesn't take away from the experience.
I'm not saying the experience was bad, but...
Oh, no. Of course it wasn't. Like, you better
definitely not. Yeah, no. No.
I mean,
for this movie, I would never say... That's the thing. I would never say that this movie's bad. Not by any means necessary. Okay. It's not bad anyway.
One thing that I actually minded probably the most, and you didn't mention, was the 2nd act. It does kind of... Even though, like, it slows down and we get a lot of character development, I wouldn't mind. But we get a lot of character development through flashbacks, which is kind of a cheap way of getting it, rather than, showing it through what's happening right now. And if you ignore the flashbacks, the characters get from San Francisco to Macau to Mandarin's hideout to a secret forest in a matter of minutes. Like, if you ignore the flashbacks, that's the one thing, like, stuff happens really fast. There's not a journey. I know it's asking a lot once again, but if you ignore the flashbacks, I feel like it just happens way too quick.
I mean, I get where you're coming from, but that's where I feel like I disagree with you, because given without the context of the flashbacks, how would we know all this information with the final reveal? So, I mean, okay, I get it that the flashbacks kind of do take up a lot of time of the film, which could be to developing the characters, like, in modern day, but the flashbacks are also kind of a major part of the movie itself.
Again, like, it's not a major point, because I myself, I don't know how else I would do it to emphasize. I'll mention a specific example. Like, going into the movie, I have heard that Tony Leung's performance is amazing, that he's one of the better Marvel villains. Mm-hmm. And there was a point where the main characters, Shang-Chi, Aquafina's character, they leave for and as of course Shang-Chi's sister, they leave to the forest, and presumably they won't meet the dad until the final confrontation, which was the case. And by that time, like, we didn't see as much, and I was like, okay, so like people are praising him, but like what else will we see? And of course it was flashbacks, but I kind of wanted to see more of the present day. Even though the flashbacks were important, I would rather, see the Mandarin more, especially the Mandarin more in the present day. Or like, he doesn't like to be called the Mandarin, so well, I would say Wenwu.
Wenwu. Genghis Khan.
Yep.
But here's the thing. This is where I argue that actually, through the flashbacks, you saw more of a range of his acting, because instead of him being somewhat angry, he was trying to be vengeful, he actually comes to becoming like this really sweet and compassionate person who was changed by his wife, who then kind of went back to this world specifically because of the death of his wife and that trauma being passed down to his kids. So, and you can see that he does love his kids, and like, not just through his words, but like actually through his actions, through his body language, like through how he conveys it specifically. So I can understand where you're coming from specifically, but this is where I disagree. I feel like the flashbacks do actually hold merit to the film. There are a lot of films that use flashbacks really terribly, but this is one of the cases where I say that like, it is legit and it works, and I don't think it would have worked as well without the flashbacks, to be honest.
Yep. I mean, I do agree with you, but it's just one thing I just wanted to mention. It still doesn't take away from the movie, as you know, my score is a 9.
Alright, but, can I say something going back to the visual effects part? Some of them could have been done much better with practical effects. Because, like, mind you, remember how back in 2002 we were blown away by the visual practical effects that were used in Spider-Man 2 that still hold up today? Imagine the amount of tech they could develop that they could use right now and utilize to actually create like an animatronic dragon that would look even better practical than it would CGI. I mean, they have the money. They could have done that. They really could have. I get that, like, with CGI, it's like a nice cleaner polish and would have added more to the fantasy, but, like, it would have grounded it more and would have made it more aesthetically pleasing, personally, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know what would work more. It's a CGI dragon, and it depends, so...
I mean, okay, no way that can get worse.
100% VFX. Of course, like, practical effects look better. Composited really well, they look better. But I feel like with VFX, you have the freedom. If they didn't yet know all the stuff, like how the VFX should look, or even though they probably should know that by the time. I don't know. I just feel like, you're doing a dragon, so, like, I didn't see practical...
You could do that practically. You could do that practically. Same thing like with Alien, in the movie Alien. Part of it was just a guy in a suit. The other half was an animatronic. So like, that's the entire idea. So they could have pulled that off. Not easily, but they could have very well pulled that off, and pulled that off amazingly, to be honest. But anyways,
you want to move on to the good?
Yes, actually, I was about to start with cinematography. Holy fucking shit, especially with the choreography. Fuck me. My jaw dropped. No, genuinely my jaw dropped. Some of the most beautiful cinematography I've seen in Marvel. Not the most beautiful I've ever seen, but some of the best I've seen in Marvel. More specifically with the fight scenes. Instead of it being all chopped up like in Black Widow, you actually see full range of motion and understand what is going on in the fight.
Like, one of the more praised Marvel fight or like stunt-oriented movies, Winter Soldier. It's a Jason Bourne mess. Winter Soldier.
Bro, like, it trumps, it shits on and pisses on and sets fire to Winter Soldier. Like this specifically, like within that regard. And within the case of the score, I actually really loved the score. The score was set so beautifully, truly. Like, I loved how the specific nuances that they actually added in, like even with the specified instruments that were used and everything, it sounded beautiful and added so much more, especially to some of the more emotional scenes that required music. Or not required, but like it gave more flavor to those kind of scenes. If you get what I mean.
Yep.
And then story, for the most part, I have to say, had a really good twist. Was really well set up. Really fulfills the idea of the hero's journey. Hits all the stops and the spots, and like it adds something refreshing. I have to admit, like story wise, it was something refreshing to see, especially with them actually paying respect to the culture. Unlike a certain movie, Mulan, 2020, obviously, not the original, but. Either way, like, that's where it goes. And then, next part, my favorite part of the entire movie. As someone who, like you, loves stunt choreography. Like, not all action movies have great stunt choreography, but the ones that do are insane. So the fact that they actually got in people who are, like, stuntmen, Shaolin fighters, and everything to actually portray these scenes so beautifully adds so much more to the movie. It truly does. And it just... It's a love letter to kung fu movies, and it's a love letter to even Chinese culture, specifically with how beautifully they convey the Shaolin within the film and all the fight scenes within the film. Truly, I mean that's what I believe, but yeah.
Yeah, the stunt choreography is easily by far the best
part of the part. Yeah, and probably the best part of the movie. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel like
full on.
Just the fact that this might be the best boss fight of 2021 says a lot, because no, seriously, it does say a lot, because in 2021 we got Nobody, which featured it featured an amazing boss fight, which of course it is R-rated, it's a bit more grounded, but it's a different fight, but that's a phenomenal fight.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Shang-Chi used more of, like, as you described earlier, a bit of like a Mortal Kombat essence without the violence, while Nobody utilized it more as like kind of a John Wick type.
Oh yes, of course. It's a difference, but still, the fact that I would, going into the movie, I wouldn't say that the boss fight would be better than Nobody. Like, easily, it just can't beat Nobody. And I'm not saying that specific fight is better than Nobody, because it's different styles, so you can't really compare it.
No, definitely.
Just the fact that it can spark a debate says a lot. You've seen all the, they have amazing kung fu. You have some of the shots like from the Matrix. You have some moves that reminded me of Jackie Chan old movies.
Yeah, like the 80s and 90s kung fu movies. Yeah.
Like all there's like 3 fights that are all stunning, and they're all different.
All right, well,
the boss fight, then there's the one on the building, which I would call the Jackie Chan fight, where he really uses the environment. He just jumps left to right above all these dudes, just takes them out one by one. It's fun, and it's...
Speaking of which, do you want to know actually something interesting? Shang-Chi is actually based on Jackie Chan. No, not Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, and they were originally gonna cast Brandon Lee to be Shang-Chi originally back in like the 80s/90s. So it has been trying to get developed since the 90s, but it's been like put into limbo. But now actually coming back, I feel like this is much stronger of a movie than it could have been back in the 90s, to be honest.
Oh yeah, of course, easily. And then the last fight that I feared would not ruin the film, but kind of step it down. Like from the trailers and everything, you've seen the big CGI heavy third act coming, and the fight.
I don't watch trailers, my guy. You know this. I like to go in blind.
Yeah,
I like to go in blind.
Okay. In the promo, you have seen some shots of Shang-Chi and Wenwu fighting with the rings. It did look cool, but I was still
worried. Yeah.
After seeing the 2 amazing fights that were prior to this, a couple of other fights as well. Like there's a fight with Shang-Chi and his sister, but I was hesitant. I was like, I just hope they don't mess this up. And that fight is stunning. Like it is unique. The way the rings move, like one can make the argument that they just do whatever the screenwriters wanted them to do, but what they do is awesome. So I don't care.
Well, fair enough. I could agree with that. But all right. Speaking of visual effects, speaking of the 10 rings specifically, I actually wanted to also bring up for the visual effects, because in a lot of cases, other than what I mentioned earlier with the dragon and the demon, the visual effects are some of the best that I've seen in the MCU and probably even recently. The animal designs, the water effects are gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie. Even like on some of the creatures, like when I saw that nine-tailed fox, I'm like, damn. And then, okay, can I ask you this? You're an anime watcher or not? No, you're not really an anime watcher, so I don't think you'd get this.
I just watched Naruto.
Okay. Did they get that inspired from Naruto? I'm sorry, but like nine-tailed fox, it's a little too on the nose.
I believe actually it's one of the, like even Naruto has it inspired as like one of the Asian culture spiritual animals. I don't want to get it wrong, but I do think it is from Asian culture. So I feel like it's not like that Naruto came up with the nine-tailed fox.
All right, I gotta ask you more about Naruto after this, but yes. No, because I'm surprised. I didn't think of you as much of an anime watcher, because like back when we were in college, you weren't really watching it. But anyways, moving on. No, but otherwise, the visual effects, for the most part, especially some of the water effects, were gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie. And other than that, final thing that I want to say is visuals and the set pieces were really, really, really well done, because a lot of the shooting was actually done in Australia, if you'd believe it. And a lot of the scenery that they had to go shoot on and everything was like either on a CGI stage or in the Australian wilderness. So they managed to actually pull off a lot of good with that and managed to actually set up some of the most beautiful looking set pieces. And even though part of it, or like even 50% of it, was like CGI, they did such a good job with it that it blends so well. Like I couldn't even tell the difference, or most of the time I couldn't even tell the difference. But even if you could tell that it was CGI, it still looked so good that you couldn't like help but be like, okay, fuck it, yeah, no, keep watching.
I felt that throughout the entire movie, like even the dragon that you criticized, I feel like none of the VFX were bad, in my opinion.
Again, my only quip is just the dragon and the demon, but otherwise the visual effects were really good. I'm not gonna lie, like really, really, really good. So that's it for my end. I have really nothing else left to say, but I really do stand by my 7.5 because for me, it's on my list. It's hard to get up to an 8, and it is damn near impossible to get up to like a 9 to a 10. So you can understand that, like for me personally, like I really. Like talking about it, I really, really enjoyed this movie, but even if they fixed all the issues that I talked about, the most that I'd give it is like an 8. So.
Okay, so I will say this is an origin film for a superhero that we don't know. And, like, we didn't know. Casual fans didn't know as of now. And to think that this was, for me personally, a top 3 theatrical experience in an MCU movie is a lot to say. And it's true. Like, I probably wouldn't put it above Infinity War Endgame, but that
I was about to say, I'm like, what are the other two? They better be Infinity War or Endgame. I was about to be like, yes. No way you'd rate this higher than Infinity War or Endgame.
Oh, no. Like, I was considering, but I can't. Like, Infinity War just had such a strong, different punch, and they did manage to include all the different, MCU heroes.
I mean, it's a decade of build-up.
Yes,
it's a decade of build-up. You can't swat that away. It's a decade of build-up.
And so. I mean, I like we're even having a discussion that Shang-Chi, for me, belongs into the top 3 with these films, with the fight choreography, with a unique story that doesn't scream at you like you have to, like, we're supporting this culture like a different Marvel movie. It just fits so perfectly. It like the story is good. I feel like the acting is good enough.
Even though inconsistent, it was good. It was inconsistent, but it was still good.
Very slightly inconsistent, but very good. Simu Liu is amazing as Shang-Chi. I don't think they could have found anyone better.
I completely agree with that.
Simply comparing him to Louis Tan in Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Yeah. There we go.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. Then I was genuinely surprised that I loved the third act. It was full of CGI. That's what I worried. And I loved the fight with the 10 rings. and I loved the final fatality that Simu Liu, Shang-Chi performed on the Dwelling in the Darkness. It was really nice. I loved the CGI. I loved the whole pacing of the move. It was my favorite shot in the film, and it's the one that like really I was just staring at the screen, smiling. I wasn't crying, but like I could feel like I had a little tear in my eye because it was just so beautiful. I really enjoyed that shot.
A little welling up, like one manly tear, just like about to leave.
And that was like because throughout the whole third act, and the third act is long, which is good. Like the last fight, it doesn't stop for a while. I kept thinking like, oh, I hope they just don't end it here. I hope they just keep going, and they keep going, and they keep going, and I was like, I just hope the dragon isn't the one who takes down the Dwelling in the Darkness. I hope it's Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi does take him down, and he does take him down in style. It was like the exclamation point that like sent this movie from an 8 to a 9 very easily. It was a perfect ending to the fight. It was beautiful. It was the third act was long. I was just amazed, and I immediately wanted to watch the movie again. And like I rarely want to watch movies twice in the movie theaters. I really want to go back and watch it again, because like this moment just was stuck in my head for 2 days, and I just kept persuading myself I have to go back, and with school and stuff, I have to find time to just watch that moment again, because it still is stuck in my head, and I just love it.
All right, no, fair enough.
In terms of
I can't go against your opinion on that. Like, I completely respect that. Like, you were impassioned by this film, which I do love, and I wish I was too. But like, again, there are a lot of aspects for me that like to make it a masterpiece, it would need more. Like, it would need a bit more of a difference. Okay. Like, it's a good movie. It's a great movie. I can't disagree on that. But like, to reach a point of a masterpiece, you kind of have to like beat others. Like for me, I rate The Matrix higher than this
movie a masterpiece. This movie for me is a 9 for a completely other reason, but go ahead.
Okay, no, I get it. Like, on your own subjective scale, you consider it like a really fucking good movie within the standard of what it is. But again, like, I'm looking at it from a lens of a film enjoyer and a filmmaker and a film critic. So, from the lens of a film enjoyer, I really enjoyed it. From the lens of a filmmaker, it was well done, but there are a lot of aspects that could have been improved, like given the list that I've said. And then from a film critic, it's just the idea of, yes, it's a really good film. It's a great film. I can't, like, shit on it. I really can't. Like, I can't think of anything negative to say other than the things that I've listed. And those mostly were nitpicks. But otherwise, it's a great film, but I can't really, like, put up a candle to it against, like, any of the other amazing films that I consider a masterpiece. So that's why, for me, I leave it at, like, a 7.5 to an 8 at best. So you understand where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to say.
You're going up?
No. With the given issues being fixed, I could give it an 8, but it still stands as a 7.5. It's closer to an 8 than a 7, but it still stands at a 7.5.
Okay. So I have it as a 9 simply for the beauty and the awesomeness, which I think this and the way that this movie goes from like a normal guy, Sean, in San Francisco, to this guy, performing that Kamehameha thing on the Dwelling in the Darkness.
the Kamehameha of 10 rings. No, wait. Was it just me? Or I swear to God, I don't know why, but I thought of this when I saw the Mandarin. I'm just going to call him the Mandarin for, like, simplicity's sake. And Shang-Chi fighting. I'm like, who's gonna win? A warrior who has been around for 10,000 years destroying civilizations and governments, or a depresso boy with daddy issues.
Okay.
And I mean, I get it, it's protagonist syndrome, sure, but like, I can't help but think that. So.
Well, just to get back to my point, overall, just the beauty and the awesomeness, there's just enough of it. There's a lot of it, and when the movie has a good story, solid acting overall, amazing fights and stunt choreography, and for me, good VFX with like a home run final statement in that fight and the fatality on the dwell in the darkness. I do agree with some of your points that just do keep it from being a perfect movie, but I mean, like you said, like there's points keeping it from being a perfect movie, but if you fix that, it's a perfect movie. So it's not a 10. It's not a 10. Some filmmaking and stuff like that, of course, but simply the awesomeness and stuff like there was never a point I was taken out of the movie. For comparison,
you're following more your heart and soul rather than your brain. That's the and I'm cool with that. No, and I get that. I understand your perspective, and I understand why you would think that, like, to you it's the closest thing to a masterpiece. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm really not, and I respect your opinion on that.
I will be honest. Like, I can like a movie, but a moment can instantly like take me out very easily.
No, I get that. No.
Fast and Furious 9. With its story and just bullshittery all around. Okay, continue. Yeah, yes, exactly, yes. But there's like moments that just do take you out, and I will be honest, like I'm a big fan, and I feel like they always manage to do a solid enough story and plot with the Fast and Furious, even though it's ridiculous. Like this, I still feel like the story was always okay, but here they just went bonkers, and stuff just didn't make sense. So it just takes you out.
The problem is that they take themselves too seriously.
Okay. But anyways, it's okay.
Anyways,
another example, Black Widow. I feel like it was an okay movie, but then the third act wasn't great, and then there was some shitty VFX at the end of the third act. That just it took me out of the movie. It took me out of the movie.
Quarantine VFX.
But like, can I say they delayed it for two years. There's no argument for not making the VFX good when you delay the movie for 2 years. Like,
can I say one thing?
That moment just took me out.
All right. Can I say one thing that actually really made me happy about this movie? Okay, so one problem that I have with a lot of Marvel and Disney movies that are produced in all like modern films is that there is always this idea of how you start out with two characters who start out as best friends and then always end up getting married, having kids, etc., with like no base background of any kind of romance.
I mean, so, like, they do hold hands at the end, so.
Well, no, they're still friends technically. Like, they don't hint at anything going on. You can hold hands with a friend and like cuddle up with a friend. That's normal. But like, no. Wait, let me say this. So you watched Naruto well enough to know that like. At least with Naruto,
let's stick to Shang-Chi.
No, but like this is just an example. So like, you know what situation I'm talking about, kind of, or what I'm referring to, ish, like Hinata and Naruto, like the Hinata Naruto situation.
Yep.
Okay, so take that into context and understand that like there has always been a blooming romance ish that kind of grew all the way to the end, and in this case. And with a lot of other cases, it's just there's no romance that existed previously, but it just jumps straight to that for no apparent reason. Like all of a sudden, they fall in love. But in this case, they weren't pussies. I like to coin this term of being from platonic to partners, or like platonic to fucking, pretty much.
Yeah.
But.
I mean, yeah, Awkwafina herself, she really fit the part, and I feel like she did a great performance.
She did a phenomenal job.
She is Awkwafina in everything she does. She's just good at being Awkwafina.
Well, I mean, Awkwafina works
her
for this.
role did, she did fit for this. Except for the last, there was like she, the one where she like arrowed the dwell in the darkness. I was like, okay. That was the one thing that like it was like it was a warning sign, like I hope they don't. But then like immediately after that, the final move of Shang-Chi happened, so I completely forgot about that. Yeah,
all right, immediately. But so no, they weren't pussies about it. They actually like genuinely maintained the friendship through and through from beginning to end, which I really respect and really admire that. Because like they maintain that they're like, oh no, they're just friends. They don't have to get married. They don't have to have a happy ending. They're just gonna keep going on adventures as best friends, which I really do appreciate.
And just one thing that I want to comment on that I've seen a lot of people hate on, that there's the MCU connections that you have Wong fighting Abomination, You have the post credit scenes. You have the mentions of what happened in Iron Man 3. It, I, I, it's a connected universe. It's almost as if
exactly. No, I don't disagree with you. Like
I feel like what they
up.
mention and what happens and what they show is just enough for you to show. Yeah, it's a connected universe, and it doesn't interfere with the movie. It doesn't ruin the movie anyhow. It doesn't make you Abomination's just like, oh look, Abomination, but he doesn't steal the show instantly. Like, oh, I want some more. He's just there like, oh cool, Abomination, Wong, amazing. Yeah, and that's it. Well, like you just know it's part of the same universe. They didn't overkill it, and it works perfectly for me.
No, but that's the thing. They managed to utilize it so well that it doesn't feel like it's being ham-fisted. Plus, mind you, also, Wong is a major part of the story that comes to play at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, so it maintains a connectedness, but it doesn't feel ham-fisted, and it's like decent. Yeah. The karaoke was fun. I actually liked that.
Just the moment he was like, oh, when I panic, I just started singing Hotel California.
Yeah,
like,
and then what did you start
singing? I was like, we'll hear it. In my mind, I was like, okay, it's coming. But I didn't mind it.
But they used it well. They used it well enough to actually not make it feel cringy.
I would mind it if it came in the third act, if it was like a major moment in the third act. But they use it in the second act and at the end for fun.
Exactly. So it worked. They actually managed to pull off like a really good Chekhov's gun with that small bit. Yeah. So twice.
I mean, for me overall, a 9. Easily, like, it's awesome. It's beautiful. The film. It's well crafted. The story, the characters, the world building is very nice. A 9 for me, easily.
Again, 7.5. I won't argue against you. I completely respect your opinion, but for me personally, it still holds up as a 7.5. But don't get me wrong, I really, really, really like the movie, and I really, really can't wait to see what they do next with the story. I really, truly. So.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see what people think, like if someone watches this.
Watch them go down in the comments and be like, Mansoor is wrong! No! They're gonna fucking boycott me for giving it a 7.5. All the Marvel fans are gonna be shitting their pants and jizzing themselves over you.
I want to emphasize 7.5 is good. Still Mons does think it's good.
But it's not good. It's really good. It's really fucking good.
He is wrong. He knows he's wrong for 7.5, but still 7.5 is good.
I'm not saying I'm wrong. What did I say? I was wrong for 7.5. Fuck you. No, I'm respecting your opinion, but again, I'm an analyzer. You're just an enjoyer. That's the difference. So that's where the difference in opinions comes. So
I feel like I mean I do analyze as well, but there was never a moment that took me out of the movie. And if it never legit takes you out of the movie, Black Widow style, Fast and Furious style, I can enjoy it. And if it's good enough, it is easily good enough for me to give it a 9.
Okay, nothing took me out, but some parts distracted me, as I mentioned from the bad side. Nothing ever truly took me out where I felt eh. So, no, I know. I completely agree. It's a really good to great film. I can't lie about that. So
awesome.
All right.
Well, episode.
That was the end of our first episode. We apologize if this took a little longer than expected.
Oh yeah,
but
it was way too long.
But again, mind you, I mean, we literally do this for fun all the time, and this is just a peek into the kind of arguments that we constantly have. These arguments for us usually take up to 3 to 4 hours minimum, and they last on for days to weeks. So this is just a little keyhole glimpse. We'll try to keep it under. We'll try to keep it under a year-long argument. So
okay.
Either way, but. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy what you saw, please do like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, comment below. And next week for something completely different. Jurka, do you have anything else left to add?
Let us know if there's stuff that you just hated about this. If we should just quit right away.
Yeah, no. Shit on me. Shit on me all you want. Shit on me all you want.
No,
Fucking
but
pussies.
I did enjoy this. I feel like this could be fun, and I feel like we could, get this going forward. So if there's anything we should improve, let us know.
All right, and otherwise, we could take film recommendations, especially for like if we're not doing any film reviews on new movies that came out. We could take film recommendations. So if you have any recommendations,
Awesome,
we'll look at them, and we might be able to watch them and talk about them. So, and we'll even mention the commenter that asked for it. So,
awesome.
All right, well, thank you guys so much again, and we do hope to see you next week. Peace.
Right. See ya.